ਮਾਈ ਰੇਡੀਓ 580 ਸੁਣ ਰਹੇ ਸਭ ਸਰੋਤਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਿਆਰ ਭਰੀ ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਗੁੱਡ ਮਾਰਨਿੰਗ ਤੇ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੋ ਅੱਜ ਦਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਖਾਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਹੋਏ ਹਾਂ ਵੈਸੇ ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰੀ ਦੀ ਹੈ ਮੌਸਮ ਦੀ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਐਂਡ ਆਲ ਦੈਟ ਲੇਕਿਨ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਮੁਲਾਕਾਤ ਜਲਦੀ ਹੀ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਹਾਂ ਬੁੱਟਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ ਹੈਲੋ ਅਲਵਰਟਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਸੁਣ ਰਹੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਸਰੋਤਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਗੁਰਸ਼ਰਨ ਸਿੰਘ ਬੁੱਟਰ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਰਾਜ ਜੀ ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ
ਅੱਜ ਸਾਡੇ ਜੋ ਗੈਸਟ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਡੈਫੀਨਿਟਲੀ ਬੜੀ ਇੰਟਰਸਟਿੰਗ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਹੋਵਾਂਗੇ ਜੀ ਮੇਅਰਲ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਨੇ ਐਡਮਿੰਟਨ ਸਿਵਿਕ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਔਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਹੋ ਕਾਉਂਸਲਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਐਡਮਿੰਟਨ ਤੋਂ ਵਾਰਡ 5 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਜੀ ਔਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਅੱਜ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਹੋਵਾਂਗੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਗੈਸਟ ਨੇ ਜੀ ਮਿਸਟਰ ਮਾਈਕਲ ਓਸ਼ਰੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ welcome करेंगे अपने स्टूडियो में हाँ जी राज जी
Good morning we welcome you to our show thank you so much for taking your time out for us
well thank you for having me it's my absolute pleasure to be here
good thank you and you are from Ward 11 and you are there for years and Ward 5 sorry about I don't know why Ward 11 is coming all the time so Ward 5 sorry about that and you were serving Edmontonians for many years
sorry go ahead
for 14 years
4 years
okay 4 years, can you tell us about yourself
sure you want how far back do you want me to go
I know you were a business person before you came into politics yes so you can tell us all the details and how many years you're in Edmonton and your family and all that
oh good so I moved here from South Africa when I was 7 years old so that's a while ago and you know my family started all over again my father went back to school you know he was a lawyer in South Africa and he had defended actually people that were charged under the terrible apartheid regime and then we figured out it was best to leave that country as many people have with their countries and their countries of origin and we moved to Canada. My father went back to school even though he'd been a lawyer for 10 years and our family started all over again. We had to leave everything behind. That's a very common story I think for a lot of people that live in our city and so that was when I was 7 many years ago now and then you know I had a typical I think upbringing in Edmonton and very fortunate about that and very fortunate to be able to move here and to live here and then in my early 20s I started businesses. I became an entrepreneur so I started a couple of businesses. One of them is the Remedy Cafes that we were just talking about earlier.
Yes.
And now the gentleman who owns it now, Z, is an amazing guy and he's really expanded. So, you know, I started the first one on 109th Street by the university and then it's taken off since then. Very, very proud of that. Very proud that it's still here. And then I started another company, which is a foreign exchange payments company, and that business really took off. And so now I've got about 100 people working for me downtown. And then I've got another 100 or so in 4 other countries around the world, you know, about 10 different offices. So it's
very good.
Yeah, very, and all started, and very proudly still had office in Edmonton. And you know, I'm very excited and proud about that business. And then I'm sort of jumping ahead now, you know, I've got, you know, married, got two great kids, all, you know, great family life. And in 2013, I hired someone to manage my business because I realized that I wasn't smart enough to do it anymore. It became too big for me. So I hired somebody who had more expertise. And then I knew previous Mayor Mandel, and we were talking one day, had breakfast, and it's a bit of a story, but I ended up running for city council and won. And I was there in 2013 for 4 years, representing Ward 5, which is the far southwest, I guess, part of the city. And so I was there for 4 years and left and, you know, got involved with some other businesses and some other boards around the city, you know, the Business Link and the University Hospital Foundation, things like that. And then, you know, about a year ago, I got approached by some people and some, you know, business people and some political people thought the city needed a bit of a change in what was happening and I guess that's why I'm talking to you today.
Very good.
So here you are.
So here I am. Yeah.
So did you miss cricket at all when you moved to Canada from South Africa?
That's a funny question. No, you know I was never really big into cricket, but rugby I was. So the Springboks in South Africa, you know, was the thing. So you know, rugby maybe cricket. I never really got involved in cricket so much.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And how was your experience being a politician in Edmonton?
You know, it was. I mean, it's very interesting. I learned a lot, of course, and I think I did some good things. And you know, the one thing that I really learned. So when I first got in there in 2013, you know, I have business background, and a lot of my associates were business people and others. But you know, when I got to city council, you know, what I really learned over in a few months, it didn't take me too long, is that really if you have a group of people with very diverse backgrounds and very different perspectives, of which when I first got there, I thought some of these people were nuts, right? Like I thought, why aren't you thinking like me? Why aren't you deciding things the way I did? And then I realized over time that actually is a very good thing. You have diverse people, diverse backgrounds, diverse views of the world, and you ultimately get to a better decision when you have that, if city council is working well. And so, that was a big learning for me, and it was great. And I made a lot of friends and cohorts there. I still talk to them on a regular basis. So I learned a lot there, and I found the experience very interesting. The city is very complicated.
Yes.
People might not appreciate it unless you're there. You deal with every day, every meeting, it's something totally randomly different. So you can deal with police issues or fire or roads or parks or nonprofit organizations, or you can debate how many chickens you're allowed to have in your backyard. Like it's just all over the map. And then, of course, there's the budgets and land use issues. So it's very, very, very complicated. But I enjoyed it.
So what made you decide that not running for last election?
Yeah, I left in 2017. I was very, I'll say, I was a bit frustrated with some of the economic decisions. And I was also very frustrated. I think the mayor has to put people in a position where they're going to succeed, and then use their skills and their backgrounds. And I found when I was there that wasn't happening, and so I just didn't feel that I was being used effectively as possible. And I was trying to do some good things and make some good decisions and move the city forward. And I just found I was sort of cut out a lot. I'm very open and straightforward, by the way.
Right,
if you're
right.
wondering.
Yes.
I'll tell anybody anything. And so I ended up. So I got frustrated at the end and just didn't feel like I was making a big enough contribution to stay there.
So that's exciting, though, how a city has lots of mayoral candidates at this time.
Yeah.
And there are some people you were colleagues with. What would you say about that?
It's there's only I guess there's two of the people that are running that I worked with there, and one of them that I know from before. So I know most of the I'll say the stronger candidates, if I can say that politically correct. It's very. It's interesting. Everyone has their own perspectives, and everyone has their own views of what the city needs to be done, and that's why we have elections. Someone's going to win, and based on what their hopefully based on what their view is.
There's a couple of polls are being shared on the social media. Do you agree with both of them, or do you see them accurate at this time?
Yeah, no. A lot of the polls that have been out are not scientific, to be blunt. Or if they're only online, that's only people that typically are going to be on Twitter, for example. So we don't take a lot of account. We have our own internal polling, which is fine. I'm still running. It's all good.
Very good.
And really, the main issue though is that the vast majority of people are undecided. It's one poll said it's 50, but it's one poll I saw it's 80. So most people in the city are undecided, which I think is fine. And also just because of COVID and because of the economic situation and all the challenges we have right now. And people aren't that interested yet. It's summertime.
Definitely.
People want to get out and do things. So it's really going to change. The numbers are going to change, and it's a wide open field. And by September, it's going to be vastly, vastly different. A lot of it is early name recognition. So I'll admit, my name is not as well known as some others, which is fine though, because once people see what I'm standing for and see what's on my website and the platform and the specific stuff that we're talking about, it's going to resonate. And
I think in a way how people are looking for a change, for a better representation in Edmonton. That will help as you left politics with the frustration and all that many years ago, and that shows how people are frustrated in the city too. So probably, and we remember your name. We do recognize your name.
Yeah, well, I think, most people I talk to, I go door knocking every night and I talk to people during the day, and most people I talk to, there's a theme that's coming out of people that I'm talking to, and they're looking for something, different. They're looking for somebody who's really going to focus the city administration on some of the core issues, not trying to do everything for everybody. And given the economic realities, they want somebody that's going to be able to manage the city's finances better, and someone with some experience in doing that. And so, a lot of the, I'm running because I think I can win, and I'm running because I think the message that we're talking about is going to resonate with the majority of people.
Thank you.
And but the previous polls, what we found, people, the turnout is very low in Edmonton,
Yes.
even in the last election. With the undecided voters right now, do you see that somehow you can bring them to the polling station, you can change their mind, or be expecting another low turn election this year as well?
Well, the election turnouts are usually in the 30s, sometimes
Yeah.
even below 30%, sometimes
Yeah.
even lower.
Yeah.
But this year, with a mayor election, it should be higher because that's typically what happens. And then,
Yes.
the province is trying to get involved
Yeah.
with the plebiscite thing. I don't know how that's going to shake out.
Yeah.
So I think the number will be closer to 40%. That's sort of
Okay.
what we're thinking. But really, the undecideds are really the undecided voters. It's not, people don't answer those polls if they're not going to vote.
Yes.
And so there's a lot of people that are undecided right now, and it's a totally wide open race, and I totally believe that, and I think we're going to be able to resonate.
So you did represent Ward 5 in 2013, and after that now you're back as a mayoral candidate.
Yes.
What problems do you see in the city of Edmonton?
Well, there's four sort of themes that we talk about in our campaign, and then there's very specific platform pieces under all of them. So I'll go really quickly.
Sure.
And then you can ask me to expand if you want, but I think it's better if I go quick, and then you can ask me to expand rather than have me talk too
Yes.
long. So the first one is the economic recovery of the city.
Yes.
There's lots of small businesses that are having a hard time. There's lots of people that are having a hard time. And we've got challenges downtown. We've got challenges, to be honest, with our tax base because we have to pay taxes to pay for the city, and so we have to get the city economically back to where it was or better before COVID. So that's and if we don't do that, we won't have the money and the resources to pay for the infrastructure needs and the social services needs that the city has. So and all the nonprofit groups and everything else that the city helps fund. So we have to deal with the economy, number one. The second theme we talk about is the city administration, which, they're well-meaning, they work hard, but boy, has the bureaucracy expanded, and they're trying to do too much for everybody. And because of that, there's no priorities. And so we've got to really streamline the costs to get the priorities back to focus on municipal level government services first, and then get the tax rates back in line. I've committed to a 0% tax increase this year, and then next year have a decrease between 1% and 2%, which I can do. I can explain later if you're interested. And so we've really got to get our fiscal house in order at the administration, because boy, again, it goes down to the homeowners and the property taxpayers, the businesses, and they're all having a hard time. And we just can't do everything for everybody anymore. We've got to make some really tough decisions. The third theme is around the infrastructure that I mentioned. We've got, the time has probably gone past for really big infrastructure projects for the next few years. We're not going to have the money, just an economic reality. And so our plan is to build small infrastructure in, say, 30 or 40 neighborhoods around the city. So we can put, it sounds like a lot of money, but for $1 million, you can put in off-leash parks or bike parks or splash parks and do many of those all around the city that have been waiting for decades, because we're not going to have money for $300 million rec centers going forward. So there's a whole piece around smaller scale platform infrastructure.
Yes.
And then the last piece, which I'll argue is the most important. I mean, we got to pay for it, but it's the most important, is what we call Edmonton for Everyone. And I'm very aware that my experience in Edmonton has been fantastic, and not everybody has had that opportunity. And we have to make sure that we take care of people that need it. And so there's people, in the homeless population that needs support. There's people who are living with systemic poverty. There's families that are just having a hard time, and the city has a role to play there. We're not going to solve the world's problems, but we really can do something meaningful in some of those issues. And so that's the fourth theme. And I've got very specific plans, though, on what we're going to do about those things, not just talk about it, solve the problems. We got really specific.
Kulji, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for coming. And my next question is, on your platform, you recognize that we have to, support the local and small businesses. And in every election, we do discuss this to cut down the red tape, so small businesses can flourish, and it's easier for them to set up and start working in Edmonton. But it never happens. What is the reason behind it? Why it's only a discussion on the election time, and after that, red time is growing every year. I have a first-hand, experience building this place last year. that inspectory rules, I saw that in India. I never thought I will see that in Canada, especially in city. And those things, how we can change that?
You need political will.
Yes.
You need somebody with political will and somebody who really means it, who really wants to do something about it. And when I started my companies, I've gone through all those challenges with permitting and business license applications and how difficult that is. And I understand the cost of high taxes on the business community. And government, typically, they don't understand because they've never been there. And, I can commit all day long that this is a big issue for me, and it's something that I'm going to follow through when I win. The city administration pushes back because they always say, well, we've done things this way for this reason, we've always done it, blah blah blah. But you need somebody who is not afraid to ruffle some feathers and upset some people and just make them do things differently. Business people, small business people, they don't want government support. They don't want money. All they want to do is they just want to be left alone to do their thing, but being able to do it as efficiently as possible. And so if you're applying for a development permit, which I'm assuming you're talking about with this building, and you don't know how long it's going to take, or a landlord doesn't know how long it's going to take to get a business license, and they're trying to negotiate a lease, and then you can't negotiate your tenant improvements because you don't have a lease yet. It just creates this inertia in business. And so what we need to do as a government is just let people who own and run businesses do what they do and make their contribution to the city. And the best way to do it is to make it easy for them. And so I've committed on development permits and business license applications. If somebody comes in and they've checked all the boxes, they've done everything they're supposed to do, that the way we're going to do it is we're going to tell the administration that they've got 30 days to approve it, or it's approved. If they don't look at it, or if they pass it to some other department, or it sits on someone's desk, it's approved.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the way that we can push the administration to do things differently. And then they'll figure out what they have to do to make sure that they can do it efficiently. So I'm not going to claim to solve all the problems, but there's things like that are really going to make a big difference. And we need somebody there who actually started some businesses, who knows the challenges and what it takes to succeed in business. And it's business is hard. It's hard to make a living in a small business. People work really, really hard at it, and the worst thing that can happen from the government perspective is to get in the way. So I'm going to deal with that.
And my next question is about the developments. We are Ward 11 and 12, both have very new areas,
Yes.
lots of new areas, and people are fed up with the planning. Roads are so narrow. Even I ask every mayoral candidate, to whoever comes into my studio, this turn from 50th Street to 22nd,
Yeah.
if there's cars standing there to make a left turn, this is a bus route. No bus or truck can make a turn. They have to go over the curb to make the right turn. Who make these decisions?
Well,
who plan these?
Well, actually, City Council would have sort of told the administration on, generally speaking, on what to focus on. And, I was talking to some neighbors in, I think it was Greenfield. I'm trying to remember the neighborhood. But, for example, the city, when they redo the neighborhood renewal, they narrow the streets because of, they're trying to mitigate speeding.
Yeah.
And I get that. But there's some practical issues that the city administration, for some reason, they just don't understand the practicalities of it, and they go by the letter of the law all the time. So to use another example, they had a bump out, so it's like where the curb kind of goes out so pedestrians walk shorter distance, and it slows down traffic. But this was where there was a stop sign on an intersection between a neighborhood road and a busy road. And so same thing, a car can't turn out and turn in at the same time.
Yes.
They just can't. And that's in the summer, because they're just doing it this summer. Right, so never mind in the winter when there's snow and everything else.
It happens in my neighborhood in front of a school.
Yeah.
You can't make a right turn and left turn at the same time. Two vehicles can make that turn. Yes.
So the administration, we need to have them allowed to be honest, make some mistakes, but they need to have some flexibility and some entrepreneurship, and given certain situations, they need to be able to make a judgment call and do things slightly different, not to the letter of the law. And they're very risk adverse. At the administration, and because City Council, if they make a mistake, they don't like it and they yell at them, etc., which is the wrong way to deal with it. You have to let them make some mistakes and not get mad, but you have to let them you have to let them make decisions that aren't letter of the law all the time.
I have a follow-up question with that. We are trying to, City of Edmonton is trying to keep up with the world, bringing the garbage bins in and looking at these streets. Winter time, where are they going to place them? And these neighborhoods are so small. You park your vehicle on the street and there's a garbage bin there.
Yeah.
And people were telling me in front of their driveway, they got to put their garbage can. And to get out of their driveway, they have to move the garbage can and get out their car,
Right.
come out and put the garbage bin in
Yeah.
again in front. So what is the solution for these problems? What do you see?
Well, so this is obviously a new program. This came in after I left, so I don't know. I know probably what most people would know about this, but my view on this or other sort of changes is you've got to, it's in place right now. Let's try it, and then let's make adjustments when needed. So for the garbage, for example, I'm not sure if every 2 weeks pickup is the right thing to do versus every 1 week. I don't know.
Yes.
But let's be flexible. Let's try it and then not be afraid to say, okay, look, we made a mistake. Let's change it. Let's tweak it. Let's do different things for different neighborhoods if possible. And so neighborhoods that have narrower, smaller lots that the garbage cans get in the way of the driveway, let's figure out some other way of dealing with it. And so I think the overreaching theme on that is that the city sort of blankets the whole city with all these different things, and they don't really think about how it affects different situations until it's kind of too late, and then everyone gets upset. And so they got to kind of do some better planning ahead of time. But long story short, we need to be flexible and make the changes when necessary, because there's going to be changes that are going to be needed.
And that's what it is. They don't provide the infrastructure, but they want you to have the upkeep with the world, what's being the new trend.
Yeah, well, I think it goes back to my whole theme of that the municipal government in Edmonton has lost sight of what municipal government services should be providing. They need to provide excellent services with roads, parks, transit, police, fire, like all the basic city services. And right now they're focusing on everything else and doing this off the side of their desk, and they need to do this and do this really well, including garbage, and then do everything else off the side of their desk. And that's one of the big changes I'm planning on making.
And like in last election, connectivity was the issue. Like Canadians lose millions every year, billions every year in their traveling times. And Edmonton is the city, deciding to lower their speed and making more, kind of slow speed traveling or connectivity. Why we are not keeping up the pace and making it, and what is the reason we are making those decisions to slow down the traffic in the city?
So again, that happened after I left. I think it's the same sort of theme, is that there's been some issues with speeding on many streets, many residential streets, and so then the issue of safety comes up, which is totally valid. But then the city puts out the 40-kilometer, city council put out the 40-kilometer rule everywhere because there's some challenges in some areas. And so again, this goes back to this sort of citywide approach. And my view would be to figure out where there's some problems and then deal with the problems in those areas. And some of it is speeding. So it's 50 kilometers might be fine, but people aren't going 50; they're going 60. And so the challenge is we've got to, some of it is. But if the speed limit is 40, they're still going to be speeding, right? When they, the same people doing the same thing. And so again, we've got to really. Instead of just blanketly putting things and new rules across the whole city, we've got to really maybe do better and pick and choose where we need to really mitigate the speeding issue, because really that's what that's all about.
The other question is with snow removal. People have all winter. We have a long winter in Edmonton, and snow removal is a big issue. Road conditions are pretty bad most of the time. So what would you say? Do you see that as a concern?
Yes, I think, again, I'll say the same thing over and over again. It goes back to the city core services, right? So one of them I didn't mention, but snow removal, of course, is we're a winter city. It snows here, 4 or 5 months a year. And we need to make sure that the roads are cleared and sidewalks are cleared. And again, it goes down to these, I'll say these basic boring services that the city has just taken their foot off the pedal over the last few years. And we just need to make sure that we do a really good job with all of them, and snow removal is one of them. And it's a sore spot for a lot of people because, it's half of our year, and we want to make the city, drivable and pleasant to live in during the winter. And so one of the simple things we can do, not so simple, it's actually a complicated thing to do, but one of the straightforward basic things we should do is deal with the snow.
And next question, sir. Edmonton, it's a capital city. It is a gateway to all the energy sector in Alberta, but As soon as we step out of Alberta, people don't know about Edmonton. You go to Europe, you go to even US, they say Edmonton. If you are an Oiler fan, you will know Edmonton where it is. But other than that, we have an identity issue outside world. You in one of your platforms that Alberta for everybody. If we are not known outside of Canada, how we can bring everybody or bring people, entrepreneur to Edmonton to invest or to work or to live?
You know, Edmonton has this problem that we're very quiet about how an amazing place it is to live. And we downplay it, and in fact, we apologize. We talk about the winter and we talk about the snow. And really, it's cold here for 2 weeks a year. The rest of the time, it's a great, you know, the weather's great. I'll argue, even in winter. There's only a few days that it's very cold, and we all get that.
Yeah.
But when people from Edmonton travel or they talk to their friends, you know, we don't brag about our city enough. We need to do that more, and we need to first believe it ourselves, and then people will go and tell other people, and then it'll get the word spreads that way. But we actually apologize, unfortunately, for living here sometimes. So I think we need to do a better job of branding the city, and it really starts with the people believing, you know, and talking proudly about what an amazing place it is to live. And we need to make sure that we do all the things right in order to attract people to come here, or to stay here. So, you know, I've got my kids are university age. They're both at university, and I want them to live here. So, how do I get them to live here? You have to make sure that there's a strong economy, so they can start a business, get a good job, work, make a living. So that's number one. You've got to make sure that we keep our amazing public school system, which we have the best. We don't appreciate this. We have the best school system in North America, from kindergarten to post-secondary. We have the best. We need to talk about that more. We have to make sure that there's interesting things to do in the River Valley, restaurants, cultural things, festivals, all the things that happen in the city. And we have to make sure it's safe. And so, we have to make sure that the housing prices are reasonable, which they are, affordable. I know it's challenging for people, but it's not like Toronto or Vancouver. So we do have reasonably priced housing stock. And so when you put all these things together, people will appreciate what we have, and then we'll get people to come here, and we'll get people to stay here. And it is really an amazing place. And the one thing we talked during the commercial about Calgary, and the one thing that we have in Edmonton that is very different than Calgary, is we have this culture of entrepreneurship, and we have this, which doesn't mean business necessarily. It means business, but it also means, we have the first mosque that ever started. We have the food bank that started here. We have all these festivals that start here, the Fringe. But we also have this innate culture that people here will help each other, no questions asked. And nobody cares where you're from. No one cares who your family is. For the most part, people will help each other and treat everybody equally, and that's not the same in other cities. It's not the same in Calgary.
So that's a good information you're sharing. That's about people.
Yeah.
But when we talk about the people who are managing the city, the council, the mayor, what is their role in this to bring this? How about infrastructure? How about connectivity?
Yeah, we have to make some really difficult decisions. There's going to be really difficult challenges economically in the next few years, and there's going to be some hard decisions, and there's not be enough money to do everything. And so we've got to pick winners, to be frank, and we have to make sure that people can get around the city and deal with the challenges that we have.
That is the exactly point what you have discussed. This is the best city to live in. We have all those things what you just defined just a moment ago. But the harsh reality is, I know many youngsters who were born and raised in Edmonton, and when they become professional, they went out.
Yeah.
They couldn't find anything here.
Yeah.
They went to Calgary, they went to Toronto, they went to other city or other countries. We are having a brain, drain in Edmonton right now.
Yeah.
And city need to do something about it.
Yes.
What we can do to keep them in Edmonton?
So I agree. I said, it got me in trouble a few weeks ago, but I said this, and I mean it. The business community has been ignored for 8 years.
Yeah.
And when I say the business community, I mean small and medium-sized businesses, somebody who has a business in their house to somebody who's got 10 employees. And there's just been no support for the business community, which means and the business community in Edmonton, the small and medium businesses, drives 70% of our economy, 70%. And so we need to do everything we can to create new businesses, because then professionals are going to want to stay here. They're going to have jobs. They're going to have careers. And so we need to do more. We need to do more with the university. There's all these sort of business ideas that are coming out, technology ideas, but the people that they're brilliant. They have these great ideas, but they have no support to convert that into a business that's actually selling a product and service, creating revenue, profits, and jobs. And so we really got to spend a lot of time talking about the economy of the city, to make sure that people want to stay here, that they think there's a future here, that they think they're going to be able to make a living in a high-paying job. And so, again, we're trying to do all sorts of other things in the city, but we're not focusing on these core services and supporting our economy. And that's going to change when I get in there. I'm going to talk about that nonstop.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming to our studio, sir. Anything you would like to add in the end? Any message for the audience?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It was totally my pleasure. Lovely talking to both of you. I believe that this time needs some really strong leadership. We've got some really big challenges coming out of COVID, and it's the most important election we've had in a long time with the city of Edmonton here. And we really need someone who's going to be able to make some hard, tough, pragmatic decisions. And I've got experience on city council. I've got obviously a lot of business experience. I understand the social challenges that we have. And so I really do believe I'm uniquely positioned to do the right thing and move the city forward. Thank you for having me. Don't forget to vote in October. I appreciate it.
Thank you. We have many more questions.
Thank you.
We'll hopefully bring you back before the election.
Yeah.
And best of luck with your campaign, sir.
No, thank you to both of you.
And thank you very much for coming.